Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode is one of those conversations that stays with you long after you stop listening because it's something that so many of us quietly wrestle with. What happens when the life you've built on paper no longer matches the life you feel called to live? So today I'm talking with the incredible Renee DeVore. She's a former teacher and principal turned coach, creator, and community builder, and now the founder of The Soul School, a new program designed for people who feel that tug towards something different but don't quite know what the next step is. Renee and I met earlier this year, and from the first conversation, I remember thinking, oh, yeah, this is someone who gets it. Her energy, her honesty, her light, it all comes through so clearly, and you're going to feel that in this episode. We talk about what it looks like when your light gets dimmed in traditional work, the micro moves that start a major life transition, why so many of us stay in careers that no longer fit, and how to know when it's time to step out, the identity unraveling that happens when you leave the box you've been in for decades, and the truth about entrepreneurship that no one really tells you, the mindset, the fear, the freedom, and the unexpected clarity that comes on the other side. Renee also shares a story behind building the Soul School, a year-long container for those preparing to transition out of corporate life with support, guidance, and an actual runway to figure out who they are and what's next. If you've been feeling stuck or sensing that quiet whisper inside you saying, there has to be more than this conversation will hit home. All right, let's get into it. Here's my conversation with the wonderful, radiant, and deeply wise Renee DeVore. Welcome to Scale with Clarity, the podcast for entrepreneurs who are building a business and a life that actually feels good. I'm Brooke Cunninger, fractional CFO, strategist, and mom of three, and I've learned that scaling isn't just about hitting revenue milestones. It's about finding alignment between your big vision and your everyday reality. Each week, you'll hear honest conversations with founders who are redefining success on their own terms. We'll talk about the pivots, the aha moments, and the tough decisions behind the scenes. Plus, the surprising ways entrepreneurship becomes the greatest personal growth journey of all. Whether you're dreaming of leaving corporate, navigating the messy middle, or trying to grow without burning out, this show is here to help you scale with more clarity, confidence, and ease. Because building a business should expand you, not deplete you. Let's scale with clarity together. Hi, Renee.
Hi, girl.
How are you?
I'm so great. I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. Thank you for carving out some time to chat with me. And before we push record, I told you I could chat with you for probably 5 hours on this. So try it.
Guess what we get to when we get to Mexico together.
Right? You guys, I met, those of you listening, I met Renee back in May. So I'd seen you through LinkedIn, obviously, because you're just such a, like your energy and your joy and your just, I don't know, peace. It comes through on the screen. So clearly I connected with you through several others on LinkedIn. Finally met you in May because you're running some retreats now, which we'll get into all of that. And your energy is just, have you always, actually, let me start there. You are a community builder. Your follower counts show that, but I know you've been working hard at that too. But has that always been your personality, or has it been through an evolution of discovering yourself, which I want to get into your professional side, to sink into this? I don't know. I just say joy. I feel like that's what comes through every time someone talks to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you for seeing me on such beautiful light, girl.
You do a good job of just being that. You always say you want to surround yourselves around energy. You can just feel that's it. So thank you for letting me into your world.
Yeah. I feel like I've always carried this. It's real. And I didn't realize it. So I just call it the light, right? So I feel like I have always carried this light. And I never knew it until so when I moved to Mexico, I'm just going to back up. When I moved to Mexico in 2018, I took a whole year off, kind of a hiatus from my career. And I met my friend Eddie, who you'll meet when we go to Mexico. Eddie told me, he said, you know that when you walk into a room, you just carry an energy with you. It's like people aren't looking at you because you're cute and all. I was like, what? Are you sure? And he's like,
yeah, look closer, Eddie.
Really?
Do you see this face? Come on.
And he's like, it is an energy that you carry. And that I held on to that because I was like, I'd always known that something was just a little bit different. just knew that people looked at me differently. I attracted like little kids, even though I didn't have kids of my own. Like I was just, kids at school. I was a principal and a teacher, and kids just wanted to be around me. I knew that I carried something, but I wasn't really clear on what that was because I didn't know anything about energy. And so, I've always had that, but I also feel like it's been super, super suppressed.
Hmm.
I grew up in a home where I wasn't really allowed to share my truth. I was very scared of my dad. I love him to death now. And he is dead, so I really love him to death.
Yes. Literally.
Literally. But I wasn't ever able to really be me, like, growing up, and then I chose a career, being a teacher, but then eventually becoming a principal where I was also suppressed there. I wasn't able to fully live in my truth, so here I was, like, working my personal life and in my professional life, I just felt like I was a shell of the human that I was on the core, on the inside of me, so that light would just kept being dimmed, right?
Can I jump in there too? So you mentioned you're a principal in your previous life, teacher, then the principal. Talk me through, because then you've already mentioned you moved to Mexico, but I want to like pause in that moment leading up to it where your light was dimmed. Did you always feel that? Was that kind of a growing like inner, like this isn't aligned with me? Was there a point that you loved what you were doing and then it switched? Like talk me through that like evolution towards thinking about leaving.
So what I realize now is that I became a teacher because my dad was a teacher and I was seeking his approval. I was always seeking from a way for my dad to love me and for me to connect on a level that he and I could have conversations about that weren't always butting heads. I didn't know it then, but I knew it now. But even in my first 3 years, so I became a teacher at 21. By 24, I had left my hometown and moved to San Diego, and I was always already trying to escape my career. I got into like life insurance, selling life insurance. Right. I was in a cubicle for 2 days doing cold calls, and I was like, "This is the worst thing ever." I'm like, "I'm out. I'm out."
There you
Right?
go.
I'm
Yeah.
out, and I fell back into education, fell back into teaching, but so even then, I knew, like, something didn't feel right. I was like,
Yeah.
and then I just continued on, and then I was kind of at this crossroads in my teaching career where they told me, "You either have to go back to a first-year training, for first-year teachers, or you have to go get your master's degree," and I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna do that. I've already been teaching for 10 years. I'm not gonna go back to a first-year training." So, I ended up getting a master's degree in administration, but I wasn't, like, pumped about becoming a
Yeah. It wasn't
principal.
like, oh my God, I'm so excited that, and yeah.
So I threw my resume out there just like as a challenge to myself, like, "Oh, let's see if anybody likes Renee." And they did. And that also became like a little bit with my dad. My dad had always tried to get into administration and he never could because of his personality. So now I kind of felt like I had like a leg up
One up.
on him. Like, haha, I beat you. Right. And then after a year of being an assistant principal, I became a principal at 32. And it's a heavy load at that age when you haven't even fully developed your own personal journey to now become this professional leader where thousands of
Yeah.
eyes and opinions and judgments are placed upon you and really in the public eye.
Yeah.
And I was really grateful. The people who I worked with in LA just gave me a lot of latitude for creativity and to really take the school in places that I wanted to take them.
Yeah.
And then when my dad passed away, so I was in my 4th year of administration and my dad passed away. My mom moved to the East Coast and I moved to Chicago and I took this job in Chicago thinking that we were going to do the same. I was going to have the same latitude as I had as a principal in those years in
Hmm.
LA. And I got there and all of a sudden the walls it was like it was not anything like that. And the walls just started caving in on me. And I was like, this
Hmm.
isn't about kids anymore. This is all about adults.
Yep.
So I was about 38 when the walls started caving in on me. And I think it took me 45, so it took me 6 or 7 years to finally make this decision through lots of therapy,
Yeah.
to finally say, "I think I've gotta do something different." And I told my boss, it was October, I told my boss, I'm like, "I'm not coming back next year, I don't know what I'm gonna do." So that was the first time, right? So I was already feeling that tension, I felt the walls were caving in on me, I didn't know then that I just
Yeah.
wasn't aligned to the role anymore, I just thought it was the school districts I
Yeah.
chose. I thought
Yes.
I needed to go
This
to a different
resonates.
school district, I needed to go to a different environment, and then I went to Mexico for 2 weeks on vacation Met some guy down there who was taking like a 3-month hiatus from his job. And I was like, why can't I do that? Came back. I'd already known I was leaving that job in Chicago. Came back and just started sprinkling to my assistants at the time, my secretaries in my office. I was like, would it be crazy if I moved to Mexico? And that's right. That's the micro move to the universe. That's the
Yes.
micro move. Just
Yep.
saying that
Say
out
it.
loud. And my assistants were like, oh my God, no, we would be the first to visit you. Please go to Mexico so we can visit you. And I was like, oh my God, really? And that was the sprinkle that just started the ball rolling.
Okay. Oh, I have
And
shivers.
we could really
Okay.
talk for hours. I mean, there's
Oh,
no
so
doubt.
many things. One, being, feeling like, feeling, living in a box, I want to say, living in a box, as I can relate to in terms of the traditional path and not even knowing I was living in the box. Like you just do the next thing and then, oh, I went to school for this, so I might as well do this. And trying to like figure out what the puzzle of my life was from where I was now. Like, oh, this next piece is where I must need to go. And it was just so linear. And so hearing your story too about now looking back and being like, clearly you went there because your dad and like all this stuff. There's so many people I know that feel that right now. Like you are in it and you're like, but what would I even do? Like this, I've gone to school for this. It's not horrible. It's not horrible. I'm lucky to have a job. I think a lot of people do. It's like the guilt on yourself of like, a lot of people are losing their jobs. I'm like, it's not horrible, but that like, it's not
Hmm.
awesome.
Hmm.
And what I hear from you and what resonates with me too is a little bit of like, what would I do next? But this, like, would it be crazy? Like, would that be like
Hmm.
moving to Mexico would be, but others, that is like the spark, right? That you need to follow. It doesn't mean you have to your point,
Right.
go like move to Mexico, which I love that you did. So we'll get to there. But like that, like, what if that's the start of like, what else is out there that maybe your true heart and your true calling really wants you to explore?
Yes. Yes.
Eh,
I, I want to say something to that too, because you just mentioned it. I I didn't know any other way of navigating the feelings I was having than blowing it all up, which I blew it all up. I sold everything I owned to move to Mexico. I blew it all up. I didn't have the tools, right? That's
Yes.
the only way I knew was to escape my reality was by blowing it up.
Well, I want to, and I wouldn't say I blew it up because I had a safety net with my husband who has a job and I had kids at the time. But my version of that is you don't have to just leave your job because it's not right and like go like without a path. But I knew in the environment that I was in, I could not change my boundaries, my people pleasing, the action, like the things that are so deeply ingrained in me from 20 plus years in my job that I knew I had to remove myself and start from scratch. Like, what does that look like? And in my mind, to appease it, I had a plan. I kind of knew like I'm going to work a little bit and do part time, which is like my stepping stones to figure out what I wanted. But like, I knew in that environment, I couldn't make the changes that I knew I needed to make. And I wasn't sure what I had to like, and we talked about this before we started recording, is my nervous system had to be rewired. I had like, there was stuff about like, what is my voice? What do I even care about? Like, I had to like kind
Mhm.
of start from scratch. And a lot of
Mhm.
that, which has been my journey with like LinkedIn, insert any other social media or whatever. It's just like speaking or this podcast, even. It's like, start talking and then
Yes.
you figure
Yeah.
out what you like. It's
Yeah.
like you start and then you figure it out, right?
Yes. Yes. That I mean, that's that. So, I came back into education after the year in
Yeah.
Mexico. I was like, let me just go back into the comfort zone and knew within a week of going back that I made the wrong decision, right? It wasn't until a panic attack in 2021 where I thought I was dying. I was like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. That was the universe's message, slap in the face, like, you've got to go. So now I've been out for almost 3.5 years. 3.5 years I've been out. And I can say probably just about a year ago, my nervous system just started to regulate, right? And I just started to truly find my flow and my voice 2.5 years out, right? And now I'm exploring other platforms and using video more, and I feel more alive than ever but I've had to go through this evolutionary journey because, like you said, we've been stuck in this box for so long, being told how to act, what to do, when to do it, where to do it, and all the things we've just been told, right? And now when you get out of that box, I'll be honest with you. I think the first year and a half, I was up against all the rules. People were telling me to do this and this on LinkedIn and all these other places. I was like, screw that. I'm going to do it
Yeah.
my way.
Yep.
I don't want to play by the rules, right? Which cost me because I
Yeah.
was rebelling against another system of people who were telling me
Yes.
this is how you need to do it to be successful. I was like, I don't want to play by your rules. I want to play by my own. And it cost me. And I had to go through that. I had to go through that journey in order to get to this place where I'm like, well, there are some rules I need to play by.
Well, I want to yes, and just like let's double tap on that for a second because I want to go back to a LinkedIn post. It was a couple weeks ago, I think. You did a poll about how long it would take you to make
Mm.
six figures if you were to leave your tradition, and you had people, and I think you recently just maybe it was today. I don't know. What
It was today. I think
Was it
yeah,
today? Okay, I
yeah.
was just reading. So it was like 90 people like responded and were like 2 years. And what I take from that, and a little bit of your post today, but I'm like 100% actually longer, depending.
I
It
agree.
was, it is, forget the frameworks and how, like, there is so much out there that will tell you exactly how to earn whatever you want to earn, depending on how many hours you want to work and all that type of stuff, what your lifestyle wants to be. It is figuring yourself out. My biggest thing has been like, what do I want to, who do I want to serve? What do I really want to do? How do I really want to show up? And trying to break the patterns of, to your point, looking externally and being like, well, how did they do it? And how did they do it? Because every time I follow that, it leads me to the path of that person, but that's not true to me. So like the muscle of figuring out like, what do I love and like what feels right and like just trusting my gut, that was so weak and it still needs to be strengthened.
Mhm.
So like that is what's taken, and that takes however long it takes you. That's what I always take. And people are like, how long is it going to be? I can't leave my job until I, can replace my salary. And I'm like, it's going to take you as long as you need. But the other side of that, it is worth so much to be
Mhm.
like, just
Mhm.
really clear on
Mhm.
yourself,
Mhm. You're redefining success.
Yes.
We
Yes.
thought success was built on titles and financial power. And what we're learning for those of us who have taken the leap is that success is really built and for some people success is money and titles and great. That's for you. But there's so many more of us out there who have labeled success as that and are beginning to feel that tension that I felt back when I was 45. Well, actually, when I felt like 24,
Yeah.
um, you're feeling that tension. You're like, there's got to be something more to this life than the grind and the nervous system dysregulation and the panic and all the things that you're feeling. Um, it's really stepping out of that and redefining success. And I'll tell you, there was something that you were just saying, and I don't even know. I think you know this, my journey, but even like, and I talk to women about this all the time. It's like we were told to be one lane. We were told when we were growing up, go to college, get your degree, get out, get your job, your career, I won't even talk about marriage and kids and all that kind of stuff, but there's basically just this bubble that everybody puts you in this bubble and says, go do that. And then you stay there, stay in that career from the time you get out of college all the way until you retire when you're like 65. If you're lucky, 60, right? And I don't even know. People aren't getting retired today until like 72.
Here's the
Right?
word.
So basically you've spent 35 to 40 years in the same lane. It's just not realistic
No.
for, I would say, 95% of the population. And I didn't know that until I stepped out and I was able to look back and be like, I can do whatever the hell I want to do.
Yeah.
And I did, right? So now I'm a leadership coach in a company. I'm a life coach for women. I host retreats. I work in anthropology part-time, right? I
Yep.
do all these little
Yes.
things that all of them fulfill my soul in some way, shape, or form. And they don't have to make sense to anybody else except for
No.
me. They just
And
don't.
and what I know and believe, and I still need to tell myself is that, of course, every single one of us is unique. So why would one job description following that path for 50 years of working or however long you are working till you retire, why would that fit more than one person? Because to your point, we are multidimensional and trying to fit in that one box. And I've said this before, if people listen to the podcast, they've heard it. It's like, I was actually like, I felt good about telling people I didn't have time for a hobby. Like, I'm too busy. Like, that is my sign of success, right? Like, are you kidding me? If you have time for a hobby, you're clearly not busy enough. And I'm like, that I just that is so backwards thinking because one, if you put I mean, there's so many paths we can go down to why that's wrong, but like what makes you uniquely you and sets you apart and have an opinion that people want to listen to and that makes you interesting is because you have multi-dimensional things. And so for me leaving, and I was like, well, how do I explain to someone like what I do when I have like kind of 7 different things I'm testing out? I'm like, others that I talk to are like, that is so cool that you can, like, okay, I'll just start a podcast, or, I'm doing a newsletter, I'm running retreats, or I'm doing like whatever it may be, working in anthropology. It's like, to have that flexibility and to be able to follow like where your heart leads you. Oftentimes again, like sort of shamed myself in like, oh, I just have shiny object. I can't decide. Like that was you just can't decide. You need to sit. I'm like, actually, that is the goal, is to just have kind of this beautiful full life that fulfills you in all different aspects of it.
I'm going to go woo for a second.
Go. Okay.
I'm going to go woo for a second. I don't know if your audience is woo, but I'm going to go woo for a second. The plan is already in place for you.
Yep. Go.
Before we ever stepped into this physical body here on earth, we came up with every decision we ever were going to be faced with. And no matter what turn you make or detour you take, that's already been accounted for long before you came into this physical body. And so your destiny is already pre-planned, right?
Yes. And so I fully agree. You and I have talked about this. So
Yes.
however
We're on the
your
same page.
listeners feel this, but I want to take it then maybe like a scientific turn too, is what we've heard, like you read about it, there is no failure. There's no failure. And I was so scared of failure, like whatever. And it goes back to your redefining success too. Like, what does that even mean? But just like you said, every turn you take is predefined. You can also say like, there is a lesson to be learned in that. There's no failure. There is learning. There is figuring out about yourself. There's figuring out, oh, this is now I've pushed myself to my edge. That's great. So now I'm going to learn this next thing. And I feel like, let's take it to the women versus men side. We're gonna go all the areas.
Yeah. There we go.
Send a comment. But you've seen the stats about, I don't know if like 85% of the women won't apply for a job until they're overqualified, and men, it's like, they have 80% of the qualities and they'll apply. And I know that applies to entrepreneurship, to following your heart, to figuring out what you want. So many women wait and say, okay, but I don't have it all figured out yet. I don't know what the one thing is I want. I got to get the plan. How much money you need to have all of it figured out. And the only way you will figure it out is by doing it. And that doesn't mean you have to throw caution to the wind and live destitute if you have children that you can't support. But it does mean that you have so many things already that you've learned. You have this trust in yourself that I want more and more women to have. And by following that, the breadcrumbs of happiness and fulfillment and knowing that there's no failure, it's just then you figure out your next turn. And as your journey and my journey shows, is you don't know where you're going to end up until you start driving. And then you're like, oh, I do love this or I don't love this. And then that is where the quote, how I define success is, what is my level of happiness and fulfillment and peace and joy in every single day? And you're not going to get there by planning ahead. You are you just have to trust yourself and go.
Yes. Yes.
I love that. Okay. So one of the other things I want to talk about is what do you define as success now when you talk about, it was financially, it was what are you after in the day to say, this is exactly what I need and what I want?
Yeah, it's like something that I espouse all the time now. It's freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. I want the freedom, whatever that means for me on any given day. I want the flexibility, this whole thing that I'm navigating, and I want to feel fulfilled, right? I didn't ever feel fulfilled as a principal. So I didn't have the freedom, I didn't have the flexibility, and I didn't feel fulfilled. And I feel like those are just 3 easy pillars to stand by. Is this going to help me feel more free? This is going to offer me flexibility. Am I going to feel fulfilled by doing this? A perfect example of that is everything that's been going on with my mom the last 30 days. As tough as it has been, I am also so grateful that 3 years ago, I stepped into, entrepreneurship. I am so grateful that I have the freedom and flexibility to be fully present for my mom as an only child, where no other family is capable of giving her the attention and time that I have. And I wouldn't have it any other way, but I could never, ever have dealt with everything I dealt with in the last 30 days and also be a principal. There is no way. I would have been in a hospital myself with a nervous
Yeah.
breakdown. I know that.
Yeah.
And so no matter how much money I make or don't make, my success is how free do I feel?
Yeah.
Right? And money is attached to that. Like, I think when we're bringing money in, there is a sense of freedom. I just attach my definition to freedom differently. The kind of money that I had before is not the kind of money I need today,
Yeah.
but that I also have this belief that I'm going to get there again. I'm going to get back to that money and more
Yeah.
when the timing when the universe wants to give it to me, right? And also, by me taking action. So, I don't know where I was going with that, but
No, that's
that's
success.
my
That's
definition of success. Yes.
yeah, I love that. And I think there's an aspect of underlying values and what's truly important to you and figuring that out in the process. But I also believe, I mean, freedom, flexibility. What was your third one? Freedom, flexibility,
Fulfillment.
and fulfillment.
Fulfillment.
That's got to be there for most people. I have to imagine. And for me, I love that because again, I think there's a fear of, I don't even want to say taking the jump and leaving and starting your own business. It could be whatever the change is, but there is this fear of how you had defined success before and sort of an easier way to define it because it's very black and white is financially. And what I've found is there's a cost also to that, to staying. And whether you can quantify that, there is hours lost in your day and happiness that you're foregoing and relationships that you're not present for and all the things that now on the other side, I say, you know what, maybe I didn't, my goal was always to replace my salary. I'm like, as long as I can replace that in this X amount of time, but I realize at what cost? Like,
Mhm.
at what cost was that? Because I wasn't present. To your point, being able to be there for your mom in a way that you wouldn't have before is like, I always said that what actually made me finally leave my job and start pursuing what I wanted was this fear of regret down the line and of regret of what, but that is the one thing that I couldn't change. I was like, okay, I may fail and people are going to laugh or you're going to do whatever, but like, I can't turn back time. And for me, it was I had young kids and like to be the stressed, I'll say I alternated between stress and like kind of like that. You talked about panic attacks, but like high level of anxiety. And then I alternated between that. And I just heard this term. It's called, I'm going to say it wrong too, but it's anhedonia. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it was on Mel Robbins' recent podcast. She interviewed this doctor, and it is essentially this state of just okayness, like not feeling. And I was like, that resonates because I would come home from my job like, and my husband would be like, how was your day? And be like, fine. It was always just, it was fine. And I'm like, finally, I was like, but I wasn't like happy and joyful with my kids. It was like I had like pushed down all negative because that would just drive me to stress, right? So it was like, but by minimizing the negative, I was also minimizing the positive. And I was just in this constant state of just okayness. And I'm like, is this going to be the next? And is this what my kids are going to see and my friends, how I'm going to show up in life? And that's the thing that finally switched. So I know that was a
Yeah.
big circuit. I don't know if that resonates, but I'm like, I
Yeah.
feel like there's this fear with people. But what about what it's costing you in the moment versus
Yeah. You don't know until you don't know. I'm such a believer that we all get these whispers,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
sometimes that's a feeling within your heart. There's a tension, right? I look back and I was like, I was having multiple conversations with my therapist about my career. I was coming home, I was drinking heavily to escape my reality. I was overspending, to escape my reality. I
yeah,
was doing all of these things. They were all whispers telling me like this isn't what life is supposed to be like. And But you don't know until you don't know until you take a chance on yourself and you say, I want differently for me. And sometimes, listen, I'm not going to spin it and say everybody needs to jump out of their careers and become an entrepreneur. Not everybody is meant for this by
Yeah.
all means,
Yep.
but it is calling you to do differently. And I think people would be really surprised to know that they could do with a
Yeah.
lot less than what they think they can. Um, and still and feel probably a different type of success, but
Yeah.
they have to be willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known, just like you, when I left my career, I was looking to just replace my salary. Didn't work out that way. Right? But that's because I was forced into this situation where it's like, no, you're going to come to grips with money. You need to understand like your own money mindset and how you were spending money before, which was very frivolous and on all the things that didn't matter and just were giving me instant gratification, but never serving me in the long term, not connected to my values. So I had to go on this journey to see the importance of money. I remember getting my first $2,000 check and was like, oh no, it wasn't even, I filed for unemployment. And I remember getting my first $800 deposit, $800 into my account. I was like, this feels amazing, right? It was like being like 16 years old
I
again and
know.
being super
I
pumped to get
know.
money in the account.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that feeling because that was the moment that I was like like
Yeah.
I was humbled.
Yeah.
But then I also began to realize, so, it gave me just enough money to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And so I had to figure out how I was going to spend that money. Where did my values go? It was food and shelter, right? And I know that that sounds really extreme, but that's where it was. That's where I
Yeah.
was, and that's where I had to go
Yeah.
in order to come out of this place and really see that the more money I make, I'm gonna be tested with those frivolous
Yeah.
things again,
Yeah.
right? Those lavish clothes, those nice cars, those beautiful trips. I'm gonna be tested with those things. But really at my core, I want my money to always goes toward my values. And my values aren't attached to the frivolous, luxurious travel. Like it's not attached to that anymore.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And I think that it take so I want to hear your advice to those that are maybe in what we're talking about, your first steps. But for me, the transition to, again, if I was in the mindset of just replacing my salary, I quickly came to realize I did not want to recreate the hours that I was working and the stress that I was living under. So to have to do that very differently meant I really needed to think about what was the life that you had to start with the life that I wanted and what was important to me and how many hours in a day did I really want to work, or did I want to be there to drive my kids around or not, or to be able to just have flexibility and travel with my husband, because for me, exploring and traveling is one of my key values. And just, so for me, it was, I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a real clear, like I've got to get clear with myself and hold myself accountable to what I really think my life wants to be. And what does that look like in terms of what I need to make and what I really have to make, and also what I'm willing to give up for it, So I had never done sort of an exercise like that. I always took where I was now and said, okay, well, if I'm not fully happy, it just means I need more of the same. Like I just need to get to the next level or the next title
Sure.
or make more money, and
Agreed.
it's going to bring it. And it was kind of reversing that and being like, ignore where you are now and what you're doing, but like, what does that life look like? Then reverse engineering it from there.
Yeah, it's asking yourself the questions. Is like, is it really about? I remember thinking to myself, well, maybe if I just go to a different type of school district and
Me
different
too.
type
Yeah.
of
It was like,
community,
you turn the box like 90
no,
degrees and maybe that'll be the.
wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, there you are. So thinking that I was going to go to this other, community and things were going to be better. I remember feeling inside, I was like, I don't think that's true. I don't think that it's about that another community. I think it's about the role itself. I didn't want to be on an island anymore. I didn't want everybody's eyes and judgments on me. I didn't want to feel the way that I was
Yeah.
feeling. And I was always going to feel that way if I was sitting in that position. And for me, I remember people used to ask me like, well, you become a superintendent. I was like, I remember having a visceral reaction to that. I was like, oh my God, no, I would never want to go into that position. Right?
Renee, same. My boss, I remember when I was thinking about leaving, she's like, well, do you want my job? And same, visceral reaction, like, oh my God, no. And then I was like, well, why am I working so hard in this role for what? Because I don't want the next thing that is leading me there. Isn't it crazy? It was like a mirror moment. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah. I'm like, and I remember thinking like, so am I going to be a principal forever? I'm going to be like and I'm such a, like, I'm a change agent. So I'm like, I'm not status quo for myself. They hired me to come into schools to change it up. And so here I am, I'm saying no to growing in a position, but am I going to be in a principal position for the rest of my life? Like, I don't think so. So
Start thinking like, what is it then? Okay, so what does that look like?
I have such a different perspective. I always look at my hair, my hairstyles, because the type. I know this is weird. I know I just took it like a sharp right on this, but I grow my hair out and I chop it off. I grow it out and I chop it off, and that there's such symbolism
Yeah.
for my life
Yeah.
because I just jump. It's like I just get to a point where I'm just like, screw it. I'm just going to take the leap and I'm going to figure it out. I want to caution people who listen to this because, we as women are hyper vigilant. Often many of us are hyper vigilant. We're constantly navigating the big picture and trying to be proactive in so many aspects of our lives. And we do that to ourselves. So we'll step into this idea and think about every possible scenario that's out
Yes.
there.
Oh, my brain hurts from all of the
Right.
churn. Yeah.
And so then we won't take the leap.
Yeah.
And so we create every what if scenario because we are hyper vigilant. And we then need to come up with the perfect plan. And if we don't have the perfect plan, then it's not going to work out. We can't step into it. No, I'm telling you, that doesn't mean you have to blow it all up. You can stay in your role, but you need to start taking, I call them
Yep.
micro moves towards the life you want to
Yes.
live. Right.
Yes.
And it can be as simple as that conversation that I said. I went to Mexico and I came back and I said to my, assistants in my office, I'm like, would it be crazy if I moved to Mexico? And their response was like, no, it's just, that's a micro move. I'm just putting the energy out to the universe
Yes.
so that the universe can start sending me that similar energy. And all of a sudden the affirmations start rolling in. So much so that, by the way, when I got to an interview, I knew when I got to this interview, I got on the call with them and I said, if you don't move me forward in the process, I'm moving to Mexico. I said that out loud. It's almost like I knew it wasn't going to happen. Right? It was
Like
like
you're like,
almost
please don't move me forward because
really good at self-sabotage. So I'm just gonna So I'm just gonna tell you right now, you're probably not gonna give me this job. So I'm just gonna move to Mexico. In
I'm
fact,
just putting my down payment deposit on my place in Mexico right now. Oh, no.
girl.
I
So
love
the micro
yeah.
moves. I think that's really important. And I get the fear. Not everybody is like me, chops their hair off and is like, all right, it'll grow back, right? But if you need the safety and security of your paycheck, I honor that. I think it's a privilege that I was able to step away and had financial runway to do that, which, by the way, I exhausted. Um,
But
right?
still happy and
But,
thriving and
but living
your
my
3 Fs.
freaking best
Yes. Yep.
life,
Yep.
right? I get that people want that safety and security. And there's also, if that tension is building within you, you just need those micro moves. If it's just researching, if it's having conversations with people, whatever it is, it's just getting the ball rolling in some way, shape, or form. And maybe it takes you a year, maybe it takes you 5 years, but eventually the whispers are going to become so loud that you can't ignore them anymore. And my hope is that for the people listening to this, you don't suffer like in a physical way. Like I was suffering in a physical way. I had back issues. Um, I got sick often. The panic attack, the anxiety. I was on antidepressants for 15 years, anti-anxiety medication for 15 years. I was on all those. I'm not on any of those anymore. I'm not drugged up. I don't take any medications,
Yep.
right? I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm living
Good or
the
bad, you're
high
feeling
life.
it all.
Yeah. I'm living the high life natural, baby.
So natural. I love that, Renee. I think I'm thinking back to my process too, and to your point, a lot of us overthink and want to get the plan. And I said this before, but for me, it was a muscle that it was so weak that I needed to take those micro like movements, like you said, micro actions. And I didn't know necessarily. I wanted the plan. I signed up for like a like a whole 6 month that's going to walk me through step by step. But what I needed to do was begin to strengthen that muscle, that what was my happiness, figure out what I really liked, what I didn't like, trust myself to put
Yes.
myself first.
Yes.
Like those little things were so pivotal in continuing, like the ball started rolling slowly and faster and faster. And so for me, those micro movements were like, I found a podcast that I just was like, it talked detailed. This is the impetus for me starting this too, because it was like telling people's stories that left. And I was like, okay, I just need to hear others that have done it because I've been in this box and I don't think I want to hear what is even out there. Finding a community of others that were just like where you could ask questions and just be around people that wanted more. You know, it was like instead of in a world that I was in where a lot of people were unhappy with the job, but loved just bitching about it, but no action was being taken, right? It was like, okay, but what do we do with this angst? You know, so kind of joining stuff like that. It's, to your point, coffee and just asking questions. So like that type of stuff, I feel like, to your point, I also feel very lucky that I was able to kind of have that leeway to leave and then reassess a little bit. But those were some of the things I did beforehand, which even gave me the courage to leave. And so for those that can't, it's just these micro moments to like leaning into like letting more and more happiness and joy and like curiosity and excitement into your life, which then will lead you to the next place where it's going to go.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me then, so you are now at a point where you're potentially pivoting or adding to your business, your what do we call this? Not your resume, but like your book of
portfolio.
Your portfolio. Yeah. There you go. That's good.
Yeah.
Where did this idea come up? And tell me a little bit about what's coming that you're willing to share.
It's so funny because what you just shared, like everything you just shared about what you were looking for is exactly what I'm creating. Because
like, we need this.
You're like, oh, let me just tell you what the Soul School is all about. I build off of my own experiences. I know that I am here to have gone through all of these experiences so that I can teach others who are a little bit further behind than I am. And so the Soul School is being built, specifically what you were talking about. It's basically creating a container for women like you and I who got out of our careers, right? I want it different for other people. I want it different for women who, knowing that the greatest barrier to them entering into entrepreneurship or building their business is money. And so I want to give women a runway, specifically women, by women. I don't want, I think that there's a lot of, men out there who do great stuff, but they've got a completely different approach. And so I really want this to be for women with women, a community, a container of other women who are going through, a similar journey, as far as trying to probably exit their corporate career. I'm using my network over the last 3 years, my vetted resources who I trust, right? Coaches who I'm bringing into this container. I'm also bringing in somebody who's going to help corporate women with their exit package, if that's what they decide to do, to negotiate their exit package. So I'm giving them like basically like, you want to leave? Here it is here's on a platter. You're not going to have to go search for all the coaches. You're not going to have to figure out how to build this on your own. You're going to get like a year runway while you're still getting your corporate paycheck to get clarity, to understand branding, to know what content messaging to do, and also to get in a little bit deep into sales, which is also a big fear for a lot of people, right? Including me. I'm terrible with sales.
Yep.
So basically bringing this school mentality of bringing these teachers in who I know and trust with all get out, bringing them into this space, and then also bringing these women who have a dream of something bigger, freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment, want to be a part of that, and creating the Soul School off of that. So I've never been more clear than anything I've done in these last 3 years. Other than, I know I love to coach, right? And I love to coach women and getting unstuck. But this has blended my entire life experiences into one opportunity. And I'm really pumped about it.
Okay. I want to talk about the specifics about what you're doing, but the macro, what I'm hearing is like, you are such a perfect example too, that when you follow the breadcrumbs, you look back and you're like, clearly the path makes sense for where I am now. But the energy that comes across, and we'll bring it full circle to what we started when we started talking, but it is not a forced thing. It is like, this is what I'm meant to do. I am so passionate about it. It's so clear when you talk. You don't have to prepare and think about it. It's just like, this is what I meant to do. And this is exactly what is needed. And it's very clearly coming across. So I'm excited you were in the right place, delivering to the right people, the right services. And what I love about that is because I just said it, what I needed to when I was going through.
Yeah.
But it's such a great mix of, we all want the frameworks. And I think that's what we buy for. We buy like, okay, tell me exactly what I need to do. Like, what are the outcomes I want to get here in 6 months or in a year? I want you to, this is where I want to be. And there are things that I minimized as a corporate job because I was like, I went to school, I got the MBA, like I got this. Entrepreneurship is such a unique beast in of the things that you don't know. And so there's that, which I love that you talk to that, but then also having a community and other coaches and women like yourself that are in there that have gone before, because you said it earlier, you take yourself wherever you go. So you can learn all those frameworks, which we need to learn, but it is the mindset. It is the figuring out what your own blocks are, because like it is the biggest personal development journey becoming an entrepreneur that I've ever been on. And so having the community that you're creating is so pivotal to support through all of that, which we know is really the biggest change that you need to undergo.
Yeah, I almost think that entrepreneurship is like 70% mindset and 30% like
Couldn't
systems
agree
and
more.
strategies.
Couldn't agree more.
Right. I think so many people drop out of being an entrepreneur because they don't have a strong enough belief system. Like I'm really of just like it, do whatever it takes. If you know that this is what you're meant to do, like I know I've believed this since I left my career that I am meant to have a greater impact on the world. I don't know what I didn't know what that meant at
Yep.
that time,
Yep.
but I knew like within my core that I was supposed to do something bigger than just be a principal of a school. And because I've held on to that belief when times have gotten tough, whether money was really tight, or the algorithm changed on social media and I was getting no likes,
Yep.
or, that's not really tough. But I mean, there's such a roller coaster ride of being an entrepreneur. And if you don't have a strong sense of self-belief and worth, and why you're here, and
Yeah.
your why, you don't know your why, I'll tell you, you will be dead in the water within 12 months.
Yeah.
There's
I
no doubt.
Yeah. And I go back to too, because you want the plan. And so when it doesn't, especially women, when it doesn't, like the first 3 months don't go as you had planned it out before you even started on this, you think, I'm not cut out for this. I have the wrong plan. I'm not smart enough, whatever all of those like horrible voices in your head are going to tell you. And so hearing that like, oh, oh no, the most successful in whatever way you define it. So I don't even mean monetarily, but maybe that, but the most successful people that have the most flexibility or the most money or the most friends or whatever it is have ridden that wave already, and they've just learned from it. And so for me, it's been I'm still right in the middle of it, but it's like, it's growth mindset versus fixed mindset, which I hate overusing that term, but it is. It's like, okay, then I'm getting closer and closer, but I couldn't agree with you more. It is mindset over everything else, because then once you get like the biggest, like, what's it like weight off my shoulders has been like the more I get clear on like what I want and who I'm here to serve, and like really feeling fulfilled in that way. I'm like, oh, this makes total sense. I'm like, that is just like the biggest unlock, but that is all internal work and mindset work and all of that. That it's like, you can charge, and then after that, charge what you want, go get your marketing funnel set up, and then you're off to the races. Like it's
Yeah.
all of that stuff. So, I love what you're creating, what you're delivering. I know it's still in the works, but how can people find out more about it, or like work with you before it launches? Tell me a little bit more about how maybe they can like reach
Yeah.
out to you.
So LinkedIn, I've got, the Soul Sanctuary there. I've got a Telegram channel there that people can access, that I'm going to start giving direct communication when we actually launch the Soul School. I just launched a YouTube channel. You can find me at the Soul Sanctuary, SOL Sanctuary. I'm over on TikTok. I love it over there.
Killing it over there. Just having a lot of
I
fun
don't even
over
know my
there.
handle. But, I think it's, LinkedIn is probably my primary source right now. And I think if people want to know, and they want to learn more or they just want to connect with me, I love connecting with strangers. That's because I love connecting you with strangers too.
And I love it too. So we're kindred spirits in that. I love
Yeah,
it.
I would welcome anybody just to book a call and just connect and chat and see where it goes.
I love it. And I've said it all through, but follow that. If anyone listening, just book Renee. I mean, just your story, Renee, your energy. And it just like gives you like the boost of like positivity. You need, like, I can do this. So I will put all of this in the show notes. I can't wait for the Soul School for you to get more information out there as you start talking about it more and just allow people to join that world, because I think that'll be so helpful for those that are just feeling, because I felt it, like just stuck, not sure what's next. Like, is this what's it? But I don't know what to do next. So just to have something, a container that people can go to is just
Yeah.
awesome and
I
needed.
don't want people to have to spend the amount of money that we would have. I've spent. I'm not
Yeah,
going
I
to even
know.
put your
Yep.
fee in there.
Put me,
I've
yep.
spent
I'm
thousands and
there.
thousands and thousands of dollars on all these different coaches, and not to mention the time and energy that I put spinning my wheels, thinking that I could figure it all out on my own. Right? I have invested. I'm not even put a number to it because it's a lot of money.
Yeah. No, that's a
It's a
lot.
lot
It
of
goes
money.
back to like you look at we bring ourselves wherever we go and try and throw the money, whether it's a traditional job and more money, it'll just make me happy, or even here, like all that stuff that you don't need. It's really like it's internal. It's figuring out. It's having somebody just guide you and like hold up the mirror, the accountability, that just
Yes.
like really clear steps. Um, yes, to all of it. So I'll put all of this information in the show notes. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for just sharing your story and talking through this and just sharing your joy and just
I
what
just want to say this to you because I think so. I'm not trying to have the last word on your podcast.
you. Oh, no, please do. I can always edit it out
But I
afterwards.
am pretty
I'm
sure that
kidding.
that I adore you. And I think why I adore you so much is because you carry the same energy and the same light that I'm attracted to. Right. And I think I'm attracted to the same type of, not necessarily the same type of people, but the same type of energy and the same type of light. And you carry that. That's why I want so many people to know you, is because you present yourself in such a beautiful light that I want you to shine as brightly as possible and spread that light of you um to as many people who can be a part of that.
Thank you. I received that. And I don't, the last thing I'll say then on that is because you said this too, and for anyone listening, thank you. That like means so much, especially you go out on your own and you're like, is this right? Am I doing the right thing? Is this resonating with people? So I deeply receive that. But also I know it's a journey of finding what is aligned with you and the right people, because I know I don't have this energy with everyone, and there's been clients or certain services that I feel the difference. And so as you get clearer with that, like, I
Yes.
think it like opens that up, and I'm like, I want to live in this vibe as much as possible. So thank you for saying that. And also thank you for being the match to me to allow that. So that's why I said, like, when you find your people, you just want, they know the people too. So you just kind of live in that energy in that circle. And so that's kind of one of my forms of definitions of success, is
Mm.
just finding those people that just kind of, you feel good and positive and
Ignite your
just,
soul.
yes, exactly.
Ignite your
So.
soul.
Oh, okay. We need to have several more of these then, because I just feel good at the end of it.
Anytime, girl.
Oh, I just love you so
Anytime.
much.
Grateful for
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. I'm grateful for you. And I'm excited to know we're talking soon too over on LinkedIn. So I'm excited to talk more about all of this stuff.
All right, my friend. I love you.
Of you.